YouTubers, it's RC Mike. Here we have the Tamiya Mad Bull. This is kind of an interesting car from Tamiya. They utilized an existing 80s style platform and put on these lunchbox style wheels and tires and turned it into kind of an interesting operating and handling car. I've looked at these for a long time. I didn't have one back in the day, but they're known for their kind of poor handling and poor geometry on the steering, and nobody really, brags about its abilities, but I wanted to get one and just kind of see for myself kind of what the real issues were and what it was like. So it's kind of interesting after putting it together and driving it. It's actually super fun. I highly recommend getting one of these for anybody that's interested in Tamiya cars. It's a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. After I did a couple of small mods, which we'll go into, this car is just a really fun thing to drive. It's no race car or not something you want to put on the track or anything, but as far as just a fun play car, this is really nice. So we're going to show you some unboxing and some running videos of it a little bit, just so you can kind of see it run. But anyway, this is the Tamiya Mad Bull, and it's definitely an exciting car to see. So with that, we'll show you some clips of what we have with it. I think this car will just do a quick unbox so you can kind of see what's in there and what you can expect. And in typical Tamiya fashion, you've got a fairly decent presentation of parts. You've got your box of parts here, a box of parts here, you've got your body, and these ridiculously oversized tires for the car. But anyway, when as a kid you'd open these boxes and it would present just a lot of excitement and kind of a thrill in the challenge of building it. So anyway, we've got a hard shell that will need to be painted. Then underneath that you've got your chassis, and let's see, we've got the tires with the rims on there already, and these are lunchbox style rims and tires. Kind of interesting. And then of course the holy grail of the Mabichi 540 RS motor. Tamiya's been using this since I was a kid, and I can remember back in the day thinking this was the greatest thing ever, to see this big silver can motor, how big it was and how heavy it was compared to the toy cars that I had and maybe you have had also. Now, today's standard, this motor is pretty much just a relic. However, in this kind of car, it's plenty of power to run the car, especially with today's LiPo batteries with a little bit more punch. We're going to take a look at our sticker sheet real quick. Kind of neat, nostalgic looking stickers like it was back in the day. Here is the manual, just like it was back in the day. Looks like part of the issue with the steering is this particular rod they have using, and we'll bring you in a little closer so you can kind of see. Well, anyway, these steering axles are turning and the servo's not turning, yet we're getting a lot of play out of that. So what we're going to do is drill this out, put a stud, a ball stud like this underneath this servo, and then put another ball stud on the top over here. So we'll basically make a small connecting rod that'll go from the two pieces with a ball here and a ball here, but underneath. So as you can see, we've got our link here that we've made to try to eliminate some of the slop with the stock wire, but we've got our stock servo horn on there and it's still got a lot of play in it. So here we are with the Kimbrel servo saver in, and we've got our ball stud here, and we've got our little link that we made, and the play is significantly less. We still got a little play in there, but that's about as good as I think we're going to get it. So hopefully you liked the some of the build and some of the driving that we've done, but I want to just kind of give a recap on what we've done exactly so you can kind of see up close, and the three things that I would recommend doing to this car right off the bat, and I talk about them a little bit in the video, is this steering. The steering is really the biggest issue with this car, what we've done is we've added, zoom into this here, what we've done is added this link which takes up a lot of the slop out of the wheels and tires. So as soon as the wheels and tires move, the steering servo and servo saver is moving. So that link that comes with the car has a lot of slop, so the wheels kind of tend to bounce around a lot and get out of control. With this little fix right here, and these are just a couple of ball ends with a couple associated 440 balls is all that is, and then of course this servo saver is on a Futaba servo, and that's actually a Kimbrel small servo saver, and that replaces the stock Tamiya servo saver, which also has a lot of slop in it, so it tends to flop around without the actual servo moving. Now what we have is whenever the tires move, the actual servo is moving. Before, you could flop these tires around a lot and that servo didn't even move. So when you're trying to drive it straight, the tires were kind of flopping around and causing all sorts of havoc. But just this little mod that we did made a huge difference on the steering, and you can kind of see in the videos it actually handles quite well. So a lot better than I expected. And then of course the suspension is a friction style shock with no oil, but these we just got on eBay, and these were extremely inexpensive. I think we paid less than $20 for the set of these shocks, and these are the exact length of the stock shocks, and they have oil in them, and you know, they're nothing super special, but they work a lot better than the stock ones. So we replaced the suspension just to kind of help it with a little bit of dampening. And then of course in the back we also replaced those shocks with you know, an inexpensive shock. And then of course this spring is actually the Mad Bull spring. We took the springs off this shock that it came with, and this was able to go right on there. And we just got these off eBay, so, and we didn't pay much for those. But between the steering that we did, the shocks that we did, and then this battery, Tamiya cars have always, back in the day, had kind of the rounded oval style hole. Well, you can't get a regular, you know, racing lipo pack in there. So Venom sells this kind of Tamiya style battery, and it goes right in that slot. And this is a lipo, and with this silver can, this battery and that little silver can motor are plenty for this car, and that lipo gives it a plenty long run time and plenty of power. So between the shocks and the battery and the steering, this car really, zoom out, so between the shocks, the battery, and the steering mod that we did, this car is actually quite fun and very easy to control. It's got some quirkiness to it, which is kind of the character of the car, but it's not near as bad as I expected after doing a couple of these mods. And hopefully you can kind of see in the video that it does work. One of the other issues, it kind of hops a little bit in the under power, and that's because when this back end torques, it kind of pulls the suspension back because it's trying to lift the front end. Well, then the suspension doesn't work if this end's being torqued back. So it kind of hops along a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. You can't really fix that without changing the car, you know. So, but anyway, it's super fun. So anybody that's, you know, on the fence about a Mad Bull, it's definitely a fun thing to do, to just play with and kind of bash around. So it's a lot more fun than I expected. So with that, hopefully that helps anybody thinking about getting a Mad Bull, and I definitely suggest getting a Mad Bull before they're gone. So anyway, we'll see you next time.